Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to remote learning. I hope you are all doing well. This is grade 4 sciences and we are going to start with the third lesson of this second week. Hopefully you are all doing your work and you are also taking your rest as well. You are spending quality time, but don't forget that you have to revise and learn each thing daily according to your timetable. So don't forget to do the homework after watching the videos and submit them timely. Now, I would ask you to keep your skill books and your stationery materials with you before I start. So today is the third lesson and we are talking about the temperature scales and the related things. Temperature is a degree of hotness or coldness of the body. Hot bodies, they show the high temperature. Cold bodies, they show the low temperatures. But we can measure them with the help of different thermometers. Some are measuring the hotness and it is shown by the higher temperatures. Similarly, some materials, they are cold, their temperature is shown by the low degrees. But for this we also need some scale. So yesterday and day before yesterday we discussed it in detail why it is important to measure the temperature. And secondly, who were the scientists who discovered the scales now which are used to measure the temperature. So students, we have seen that and we have studied day before yesterday and yesterday as well that there are three scales: Fahrenheit, Kelvin and Celsius. They are used for measuring different temperatures, whether they are hot or cold. So the temperature can be measured with any of these scales, but mostly Celsius scale is used for the purpose. Now, Celsius scale is a scale which is used by all of us in the daily life. In the lab, we can measure the high temperature of any material through this scale, and in the same way, the room temperature can also be measured with the help of Celsius or Fahrenheit scale. And if we are going to study the topics like evaporation and condensation, then again it is very important to measure the temperature. So student, this is your skill book. Open your skill book and let me start with your today's lesson. Your today's lesson is from page number 53 of your skill book. Open your skill book, open page 53. Don't forget to write down the date at the top of your page before you start. Write down date and classwork. So here is the exercise, which is a little reinforcement of your topics that you have done before. So let me start with the first question of this exercise. Now question is, write the word that describe each of the following process. A liquid changes into gas. So students, we all have studied that some of the processes which change the liquid into gas, evaporation is one of them. Except evaporation, it is boiling as well, through which a liquid turn into gas. So answer of part A of question 1 is evaporation. Second is a gas changes into liquid. Now as the liquid can turn into gas, in the same way material has a property that it can also change the gas into liquid by a process of cooling. The name of this cooling process is condensation. So evaporation is conversion from liquid to gas and condensation is from gas to liquid at low temperature. Evaporation is at high temperature. Now let's start with C. a strong change into liquid. A solid changes into liquid. So as we all know, whenever we keep some solids outside of freezer or fridge, for example butter, it melts after some time because it can absorb the heat of surrounding and show melting. So in this way we can say that melting takes place at high temperature. It could be, the example could be of butter and ice cube as well. Whenever we place them at room temperature, but outside the cool place, at a warmer place, then what happens? Then it start melting. So melting is the change of solid state into liquid, but the temperature should be warm. So this process is called as melting. Now sometimes the things can change from liquid state to solid one. For example, if the melted butter is kept back into the freezer, it may solidify or turn solid. In the same way, the melted ice cubes, they can be again placed back into the freezer to get the ice cube back. In the freezer, the temperature is low or freezing temperature. That is how, as we place it in the freezer, the cubes, they become solid, and in the same way the melted butter can regain its previous shape. The last one, E part of the question 1, heated water changes into steam. So whenever we take some water in a kettle or in any pan, you can see that whenever we continue the heat and don't stop heating after boiling even, then all of the water turn into the gaseous state, and ultimately the whole pan or the kettle may become empty. This process is known as boiling. So boiling is a process in which all the liquid, upon continuous heating or at the high temperature, even if you don't heat at flame, at the high temperature or due to some fast winds, all the liquid can turn into gas or steam. This process is called as boiling. Now let me start with the second question. Saira and Amira, they are two girls. They grew plants for their classroom. Saira's plant needed to be watered every day, while Amira's plant did not. Now look at the Amira's plant. It is in a longer container and the mouth of the container is very narrow. Now Saira's plant is in a open mouthed container and it is having very wide opening. So the question is, Amira's plant didn't need any water, but the Saira's plant needed to be watered daily. It is watered but not daily, but Saira's plant needs daily watering. Why? Now questions are, what process made Saira's plant need water every day? So since the container in which the plants are used, or the pots which are used for planting these plants, look at the Saira's plant. This is placed in a pot which is having very wide mouth. So due to wide and broad opening, it is showing rapid evaporation. That is why the Saira has to water it daily. So look at the Amira's planter, or the plant, you can say vase. It is just like a vase and it is having a smaller opening. So Amira's planter is very small, having very thin small opening. So pot is small and opening is also small. So that is why it doesn't need to be watered daily. But Saira's plant is big and it has been placed into the open mouth pot. That is why it needs to be watered daily, because water gets evaporated due to open mouth or broad opening of the pot. But in case of Amira, the opening is narrow and it doesn't need to be very you can say water daily. So question B is, why do Amira's plant need less water? Pot is small and has narrow opening. Due to this, the evaporation is slow and there is no need of water plant daily. Now suggest two things that Saira can do to make her plants need less water. What should Saira do? Should she keep on watering it daily, or she must keep it in a small container with a lesser opening, or the pot should be small and having some narrow opening? So the suggestions are, she must keep the plant at the cool place. Secondly, a pot with a small opening must be used. So these were two suggestions for Saira, so that if she want to avoid the hassle of watering the plants daily, she must keep it in a pot which is having narrow opening, and the place must be cool as well. So students, this was all for today. Do page number 53, submit it timely in the Google Classroom. Thank you very much. Allah Hafiz.